Of the 4 iPhone 13 variants released a couple of weeks ago, 2 have really caught my attention. Not because of how they stand out within the iPhone 13 lineup, even though both the 13 mini and the 13 Pro Max are my favorite of the bunch, but because of how well they stand apart from the phones that came before them. Today we'll be talking about the bigger of those surprises. Get it? Because it's the Pro Max. You should buy the iPhone 13 Pro Max. Why is that? Let's find out. What's up, everyone? I'm the Everyday Dad, and if I can figure it out, you can figure it out. Alright, because this is an addition to the You Should Buy series, let's get those disclaimers out first. 1. Nobody provided me this phone. I bought this myself. I will never make a You Should Buy video unless it's something that I've already purchased. Number 2, no, I don't actually want or expect you to immediately leave this video and buy all of the, 20? I think we've made 20 of these videos before. 20 videos that I've added to this series. This is a celebration of the good things about this phone, and it's more a validation for folks that have already purchased it as opposed to wanting you to go buy it. Now that I've broken the YouTube rule about getting straight to the point instead of having a 2-paragraph disclaimer at the beginning of a video, let's get into the reasons. You can't have any conversation about this phone without first starting with the battery life. The battery life on here is wild. I can't think of any neutral, boring way of putting that. This is just crazy stuff. And that's coming from somebody who was used to last year's crazy battery life in the 12 Pro Max. If you watched my unboxing or initial impressions video, I was getting some pretty meh life out of the phone when it first came in, but whatever background processes it was running must be over now, because this thing easily gets me 2 whole days of use per charge. And I don't mean whole 8-hour work days. I mean whole days. I normally wake up around 6 a.m. and I'll generally go to bed around 10 p.m.-ish. Sometimes earlier, sometimes later, depending on whatever TV show I'm currently binging. In the past week, I've gone to bed every night with 60% battery life. 60%. What? I don't really care all that much for screen on time or screen off time or whatever draining tests or other kinds of things that people go to show battery life tests. I use this throughout the week as I normally would, with plenty of YouTube, plenty of Amazon TV, Twitter, Reddit doom scrolling, everything. I didn't hold back, nor did I think about rationing my use like I sometimes feel like I need to do on the 13 mini. Full out, a day of use, and it only used 40% of the battery. If I had 5 hands, I would give this 5 thumbs up. I very easily believe the claims that Apple has made about increasing the life, and that is showing up in some serious, real, practical ways for me, like the battery life. It's pretty good. The next reason you should buy the iPhone 13 Pro Max also ties in with battery life, because this actually makes the phone more efficient with its power, but it's also kind of cool by itself. That's the ProMotion technology built into the screen. Now, I know most people and most coverage for this capability have centered around the fact that ProMotion will allow the screen to refresh at up to 120 Hz. And yeah, that is kind of cool. If you aren't a tech person and you don't know what refresh rate means, right? Screens aren't actually in motion. These are constantly updating still images that give the appearance of motion. And the more frames in that, or the more time that screen refreshes, the smoother that image will look. The reason movies and TV shows can look different is movies are generally shot in 24 frames per second or 24 Hertz for this explanation, while TV shows, well, they used to be, they can be shot in either 30 frames per second or 60 frames per second. So the faster your screen refreshes, the smoother and silkier that experience will be. And yes, the iPhone 13 Pro Max running at 120 Hz, it looks really nice, but that takes up a ton of power and a ton of processing energy to make that happen. So from my basic understanding of mathematics and physics, which is very basic, it takes literally twice as much as what it would take to run the screen at 60 Hz, which is the standard before ProMotion, like the iPhone 13 and 13 mini run at 60 Hz. But why I think this is the reason to buy the iPhone is ProMotion works the other way too. It can reduce the refresh rate down to as low as 10 Hz, meaning that if you are reading a document or something else that causes the screen to be static or move slower, the phone will downgrade the process, thereby saving you a ton of battery life. That's just cool as heck. And it's a big reason why the 13 Pro Max and the regular Pro are having such wild battery life numbers this year. Yes, the battery itself is physically larger, but it's also running more efficient. You put those two things together, and that's why I'm having 2 whole days of use out of my phone. Can you tell that battery life is probably the single most important feature in consumer technology for me? Yeah, it's really that important. I will talk about it all the time. Plus, when we were talking about the display as a reason to buy, another big reason is that this screen will go up to 1,000 nits of brightness. This screen can get so bright, it causes it to be overexposed on the cameras that I use to make these videos. You're probably not a YouTuber, so what do you care about my cameras? What this means for you is no matter where you are, even in direct sunlight, you'll be able to clearly see what's going on, and you'll be able to read all of those messages or emails. You won't be like, oh, it's so small and now the sun's in my eyes. You will clearly be able to see that. Also, if you want to watch HDR videos, that max brightness goes up to 1200 nits, and you will get some of the sharpest images, the deepest blacks, the highest contrast rate that you'll find on a phone. It's so good. Okay, away from the displays, the next reason to buy the iPhone 13 Pro Max are the cameras. Yes, the cameras are the same sorts of cameras that you'll find on the 12 Pro Max. And again, there are about 100 separate videos showing the minute differences between them, but these cameras are much improved over last year's model. You'll get a telephoto, and while I used to say that in heavy quotes because I'm a camera snob, and no, I don't consider 50mm to be telephoto, but this year the telephoto lens is actually roughly 77mm, which is close enough that I think we can call it good. This lens will give you a 3x optical zoom with an f2.8 aperture. That's pretty impressive as far as cell phone telephoto cameras go. You'll also get a wide angle camera that's been updated to have an f1.5 aperture. It's got a larger sensor and sensor shift stabilization, making it probably the camera that you'll end up using the most because it's the coolest, has the bigger sensor, and has the best technology built into it. Plus, the ultra wide got a serious upgrade, and that it also has an f1.8 for its aperture. And I know that that's a lot of technical camera jargon, and I apologize, but it's pretty important and it's pretty special to know what they were able to do here. And they did all of this without making the camera bump that much bigger. It's a little bigger. It is a little bigger this year, but it's not overwhelmingly so. You can also use these lenses in video, and this set is easily my favorite set of cameras on any mobile device ever. Yes, I personally use a series of full frame cameras for my own YouTube videos, but I only own them to make these videos. Everything else in my life is done with my phone. Family photos, taken with the phone. Family video, taken with the phone. Everything's done here. And not only have the cameras had pretty substantial upgrades, the software has some cool, useful features too. I really like the cinematic mode now included with the standard Apple photo application. This gives a portrait mode type effect on video, giving you a blurry background in real time with your videos. If you wanted to do that previously, it used to be that you would have to process these files in post, and you'd have to do the individual cutting of each clip yourself, and that this phone does it in real time. That's pretty crazy. It's not perfect, but I think there is only room for this to grow, so hopefully it will keep getting better over time. Also, you can adjust this in the Photos app after the fact, so you can either change the focus point later, or you can change how much or how little of a blur you want. And that's probably, I know we're kind of getting off track here, but that's probably the most interesting part of the camera software for me. Depth data as metadata isn't really captured anywhere else. Even raw video does not include depth or focus as something that you can adjust later. This specific mode could be very big and very changing to how we even perceive depth in video. Okay, let's get back to the next reason to buy the iPhone 13 Pro Max is how much customization you can get over your storage. I personally buy the base models with 128GB of memory, but I really like that this year they also included a 1TB model. And that sounds, team, that is a lot. That sounds like an insane amount of device storage for me. But I like that if you need it, it exists. Because iPhones still have Lightning, using external memory is, well, I was gonna find a way of saying not optimal because awful is more true to life. You really won't be able to practically use external memory for casual use, so you'll more likely use iCloud or Google Photos or something else to store all the data on your phone. But hey, I get it. There are a ton of crazy people out there that will want to shoot ProRes footage with their phone, and that ProRes takes up a ton of space. This boils down to me liking more options. And the last major reason I would give to buy the brand new iPhone 13 Pro Max is the power. Yes, I include this in basically every you should buy video, but it keeps on being the case. Apple is really on a roll with their new processors, and the A15 is no exception. But what makes the A15 so cool, well, it's what makes all Apple processors so cool, is not only are they powerful, but they are efficiently powerful. You are getting comparable actual oomph compared to other brands of processors on the market, and you are getting that without using all that much power to do it. See, we are linking this back to battery life. I should just, let me know in the comments below if I should just rename myself to the Everyday Battery Life Dad. So it'll run longer, but just as fast, and it will still let you get in all of your cool TikToks and Snapchats. I know what the kids are into. Plus, as this is the latest version of the processor, this will be the phone in the series that has the longest longevity for updates as of today. I wouldn't use that as a specific reason to upgrade if you already have an 11 or 12. Obviously, those will still get updates and still be relevant for years to come. But if you are looking for your very first iPhone, that's absolutely a reason to get the 13 instead of maybe saving some money and buying an older model. Don't forget that on the iPhone 13 Pro Max, you'll also get that updated 5-core GPU here. So when you want to start playing all those new Modern Warfare games, it'll work so much smoother. That's a joke. That's not how that works. The one extra GPU core, you will never be able to tell the difference. But at the end of the day, so what, right? Yes, I highly recommend the iPhone 13 Pro Max. This phone is incredible, and I'm very shocked at how impressive the battery life is. I personally thought that after the 12 Pro Max, battery life was just going to be like, okay, they will be able to do this level again, and that's it. I did not think that they could keep impressing me by extending the life of the phone. But yes, this is wild stuff. Plus, the display is beautiful, the phone is powerful, the cameras will be able to do amazing work to capture your candid family moments. Everything about this phone is better than the 12 Pro Max. And while I wouldn't necessarily say upgrade from the 12 Pro Max, I would say that the 13 Pro Max is absolutely worth buying. And if you like this video and you are now considering the 13 Pro Max, here's a link to my video showing the specific differences between this and the 12 Pro Max from last year. And you can find it by clicking right here. Click, 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 click. Thanks for watching.